What's up guys, ArchAngel Manga here, and today you are watching Tezuka Season, a series of videos where I take a chronological and retrospective look at the works of Osamu Tezuka, or at least the ones that I own, given that there are like an absolute uncountable number of titles that Tezuka has over his belt that have yet to be released in English. So yeah, I'm still pretty early in this series of videos, so today we're going to be talking about Twin Nights, which is essentially the sequel to Princess Night, which was the subject of episode 2 of Tezuka Season. And with this volume, we're introduced to two twins, Prince Daisy and Princess Violetta, and this is set some years after the events of Princess Night. And the King and Queen of Silverland at the time that this is set have twin children, which poses a bit of a problem because the parents can't decide between themselves, which one should inherit the crown after both of them are gone. So the king decides to pray to God and essentially let God make the decision, and because God is busy, of course, he sends down Tink, the angel, which was the same, little cherub that created all the gender-bending antics in the previous series, Princess Night. And what does he do in this series? Exactly the same thing. He ends up basically arbitrarily and whimsically deciding to favour Prince Daisy as the heir to the crown, by basically holding up his bow and writing the names on the floor and saying whichever arrow, whichever direction the bow falls will be the next heir. So yeah, already didn't think it through. Because there are two twins, two royal twins, there are obviously two factions, that are in favour of both of the twins, and because Prince Daisy is chosen as the heir, the Princess Violetta faction, don't take very well to it, and basically scheme and organise for Prince Daisy to be kidnapped and abandoned in like a forest, a plan which is successful. And because they can't get Prince Daisy back, what the King and Queen decide to do is basically have, the Queen reluctantly decides to have Princess Violetta pose as a prince one day and a princess the next, basically for her entire life. And that, because it's such a compact short volume, the first couple of chapters, kind of give us what was so interesting about Princess Night, but it just in a much more faster paced, story. So anyway, from that 15 years pass, and the ruse that the King and Queen set up to have the princess posing as the prince is becoming dangerously close to being discovered. So what happens is, from there, Princess Violetta goes on a journey to look for her brother and bring him back so he can secure the crown. It offers a lot of what Princess Night offered, in the fact that it's very much a very Disney-esque fairy tale adventure story. And the two stories are very similar in that fact, regardless of the fact that they are both linked, as this is a sequel. This also was published before the release of Princess Night that I have. This was published between 1953 to 1956, so the art style is obviously 10 years younger to the art style seen in the English release of Princess Night. But regardless of that fact, I still think the artwork holds up to its parent series. In fact, I think some of the artwork in places is actually quite better. With some of the character designs and things like that. Because we're given more more sort of variation of characters. Like we have two titular characters that are very similar looking but also very different. And Tezuka displays that visually very very nicely. So yeah, the artwork still maintains that very Disney-esque cutesy feel, but that's contrasted by sort of the darker tones that prevail in the story, like the life that Daisy has to lead in the forest, because he grows up completely separate from the outside world, unaware that he is royalty or the heir to a throne, or even for the fact that he even has a sister, and he's raised by a deer. A very kind deer that basically prays to like the forest spirit to become a human in order to care for a human baby, because as a deer, she's unable to care for the needs of a human baby, which require much more needs than an animal. But she's basically cursed because the deer during daytime, she will be a deer, and she can only be human during nighttime. So and for the fact that Daisy grows up a human and has like hunter instincts and things like that, like anytime he comes in contact with Pappy, as the deer is called, he tries to kill her, because he just sees her as a deer. He doesn't know that his sister, Pappy the deer, is actually a deer. So that's a really complicated relationship that teeters on the edge of being completely destroyed from time to time. And it's a really interesting, I think Pappy as a character is really well developed. And in regards to Pappy being a carer for Daisy, there's one thing I want to touch upon as well, is the fact that even though Violetta and Daisy both separately are cut off from their parents, in the quests, the individual quests that they need to take, they both have reinforcing role models to kind of exemplify what it is they need to achieve in their life. Obviously, we have Daisy, who's raised and looked after by Pappy, who's a really positive figure, who strives to go to any lengths to like look after who she regards essentially as like her little brother or son. Daisy gradually learns the importance of Pappy, he instantly knows, obviously he's always seen Pappy as like his older sister, but without going into spoiler territory, everything kind of comes to a climax, with their relationship, and it's really interesting how it works. But most importantly, or most interestingly, I think, is the relationship Violetta has with like a nomadic people, namely the leader of this nomadic tribe of gypsies. Is that the queen of the gypsies called Emerald? Hello, Shadow. And Emerald is basically a really strong female character in this series, and she could probably hold the series on her own, or probably exist within she could hold a series by herself, regardless of her being a side character in this series. And she basically serves as like a role model for Violetta in a certain aspect, because she's so positive thinking and like strong-willed and strong-headed. That Violetta kind of learns a lot from her, I felt. She, when Violetta has to hide from like guards who are pursuing her, Emerald is always there to like help her, either to like disguise her as like a member of the gypsies, or just offer physical assistance, like fighting and things like that. She can really hold her own. But out of all the characters in the series, out of all the characters in Twin Knights, I thought Emerald was the most interesting one, because she's a lot different to any character that was seen in this series and its parent series, the Princess Knight. And with Emerald being such a strong female character, and not needing the need of like a male heart or anything like that. She's got a strong female heart. It just shows that Tezuka had at that point given away with like the proto-feminist, almost sexist themes that were touched upon in Princess Knight. With Princess Knight, the women only could be strong if they had a male heart, and it's kind of done away with those tropes with the Twin Knights. I think that's a really interesting development on Tezuka's part. In terms of negatives for this series, you could probably maybe say that some aspects of it don't really stand up to the passage of time, but I think that's mostly due to how old it is, obviously. Things like the artwork sometimes can appear very outdated. The panel work is very basic, with maybe one or two exceptions where Tezuka has kind of experimented with kind of playing around with like the scenes and the characters and how they actually break the fourth wall and interact with the panels themselves. Like sometimes you'll see like panels breaking, or maybe a character will like interact with the panel in like a funny way or something like that. And Tezuka's use of comedy again in this series is, is very flawless. I think, Tezuka himself makes a cameo appearance, and I thought that was absolutely brilliant. So in terms of negatives, there's nothing really negative I can say about this series, because it really is a good story. Even just a standalone story, you don't really have to read Princess Knight to be able to appreciate this. And the only sort of negatives I can put on it is the fact that the artwork can appear quite outdated. But knowing that I was going into a series that is so old, that's something that never really bothered me, because I knew what I was going to expect. So all in all, I would highly recommend the Twin Knights. It's good to kind of compare it to its parent series, in terms of like the themes it deals with. I'd say that the Twin Knights is actually a little bit darker than Princess Knight, because without kind of spoiling things, like Violetta and Daisy, kind of face much more dangerous things than I would have said Princess Sapphire did in the previous, in its the main series. So yeah, I would highly recommend the Twin Knights. It was a really good step up from Princess Knight. Especially for the fact that it's actually older than the release of Princess Knight that I have. I still felt that it lived up to how Princess Knight left off. So if you've read Twin Knights, how would you say it compares to Princess Knight? Do you feel that Tezuka's ideals and opinions on like women and female lead characters changed for the better? What do you think of Twin Knights as a whole? And that's kind of all I have to say about the series. Then I just want to say, what do you think of these reviews? Do you think I could improve them in any way, or do you think I'm kind of going strong with them? I tried to make them as educational as possible. Kind of try to get you guys, the viewers, interested in reading. Obviously what I'm reviewing. So yeah, that's it for episode 3. Look out for episode 4. I'll be reviewing Dororo, which is the next manga of his that I own. That's next in line chronologically for me to review. I'm just started reading that, and it's pretty interesting. So yeah, until then, ArchAngel Manga signing out.